Okay, class, let's continue our discussion for Module 5, Lesson 1. So, for our function, we have several types. We have first the linear function. So, when we say linear function, the expression is of the first degree. Let's say you have here a function of x, which is equal to x plus 2. And then for polynomial function, so it comprises of linear function, quadratic, cubic, fourtic, and etc. So this is of the form f of x is equal to a sub n x raised to n plus a sub n minus 1 x raised to n minus 1 until the last one, or the constant, let's say a sub 1. So given that we don't have any negative exponents in our variables, and we don't have variables on the denominator. The third one is exponential and logarithmic. For exponential, this is of the form f of x is equal to e raised to x. So we have here the Euler number raised to a certain function of x. And for logarithmic, you have f of x is equal to log of x. So this is for logarithmic to the base 10, and we also have natural logarithm, which is f of x is equal to ln of x. So this is natural logarithm with base e. And then the fourth one is we have trigonometric. So this is of the form f of x is equal to the trigonometric identities. So let's start with sine. So let's say sine x, or you can have cosine x, you can have tangent, so on and so forth. And then for the information of everyone, so these two right here, these two examples, the exponential, logarithmic, and trigonometric, these are called transcendental functions. So transcendental na sila. And then the fifth one is rational function. Of course, you already know this one. This is of the form f of x is equal to the function on the numerator. Let's say this is g of x, and then you also have a function on the denominator, h of x, such that this h of x must not be equal to 0. So this is its restriction. The next one is the inverse of a function. So when we say inverse of a function, so it means that the composition of the function, let's say we have function f of x and g of x. So these two functions can be called inverse if their composition, so remember the operation of composition. So if f contains g of x must be equal to 1, or vice versa. And then the last one is for nonlinear functions. We have the conics. So remember conics, we have ellipse, we have ellipses, hyperbolas, then we also have parabola, and also circle. But not all these these functions here, di ni sila tanan function gid sila, since naman tayo gitawag nga vertical line test, diba? Remember the definition of function, that it only has one domain that corresponds to at least one range. So if our domain will be repeated, so dili na siya function. But we can still use ellipse, hyperbolas, parabolas, given that we have we need some restrictions. So if we have some restrictions over them, so we can now call them functions. But these are just the examples of nonlinear functions. We also have cubic, quartic, so on and so forth. So let's proceed to the operations of functions. In operation of functions, we have 5. The first one is addition. So let's say if we add two functions, f and g. So this is the notation: f plus g of x is just the same as f of x, and then plus g of x. And for subtraction, we have f minus g of x is just the same as f of x minus g of x. For multiplication, so we have f dot. So please take note, we have dot here because their notation with composition is a little bit confusing. So confusing na siyang part. So be mindful for multiplication that is represented by dot. So this is of the form f of x multiplied by g of x. And then the next one is division. So we have f slash g. So this is the notation for division of x is just the same as a rational function f of x all over g of x. Of course, we have restrictions such that g of x is not equal to 0. And then the last one, this is called the composition. So for composition, let's say you have f contains. So remember, contains, notation is circle. So here, so be mindful for multiplication that is dot, for composition is that is circle. So f contains g. So ing ana pagbasa. So this can be performed as the function f, wherein the value of the x of the function f would be the value of the x of g. That's why it is called f of g of x. Or it is performed as the value of x for our function f would be equal to the entire function of g of x. So let's say for example, we have here f of x is equal to x plus 2, and then we also have a g of x is equal to 2x. Now when you say f of g, so f contains g of x, it is written in this way, diba? F of g of x. So therefore, again, when balik ta sa atong notation, when we say f of x, so what is inside in the parentheses should be the value to be substituted in our function. So since the inside of the brace in our function f is g of x, so therefore the entire thing in the g of x should be what? Should be substituted to the x on the function f. So to do that, so we have here, let's say f of g of x is equal to x. So since this is x plus 2, so again x is the entire g of x. So put there 2x and then plus 2. So therefore the answer in factored form, 2 times x plus 1. So this would now be f of g of x. And then remember class, for composition, f of g of x is of course not equal to when you say g of f of x. So commutative property does not apply for the composition. So when we say g of f of x, it is different thing compared to f of g of x. So please be mindful with that. Okay, so let's have some examples for the operation of functions. Let's say you are given a function f of x is equal to 1 all over x plus 2. Then you also have here g of x is equal to x all over x minus 1. Okay, then we're going to solve all the operations, so from addition until the composition of function. So let's start with addition. Again, for addition, denoted as f plus g of x is just equal to the sum of f of x and g of x. So let's say we have here 1 all over x plus 2 for f of x, and then plus x all over x minus 1. Actually class, the operation of functions are just simple. you just use your knowledge from the previous mga modules wherein we simplify rational expressions and functions, I mean equations. So here, solve for LCD. LCD is x plus 2 times x minus 1, then divide by the first denominator of the first fraction, then multiplied by the numerator. So we have x minus 1, and then plus here on the second fraction, the same thing, the same procedure. So we have plus x times x plus 2, and then simplify. So we have x minus 1 plus distribute this on the parentheses, so that is x squared plus 2x all over x plus 2 times x minus 1, and then rearranging the numerator. So we have x squared plus this 2x and x can be combined, so that would be now 3x minus 1 all over x plus 2 times x minus 1. Now if our numerator can be factored out further, so you can do it, but in this case, by using trial and error, we don't, for the factor of negative 1, we will have negative 1 and 1, and then it will not result with the second coefficient of the second term. I mean the coefficient of the second term, it will not result with this. So therefore this would be the simplified form, or the prime form, the prime factor form of the trinomial x squared plus 3x minus 1. So therefore this is our final answer. Now when we do subtraction, so we have here f minus g of x. So we just change the sign. This is 1 over x plus 2 minus x all over x minus 1, and then again solve for the LCD. Then the same with the addition here, the same with here, but please change this sign since we are now in subtraction. So we have x minus 1 minus x times x plus 2, and then of course you are going to distribute or simplify. So distribute this and the terms inside the parentheses. So we have x minus 1 minus x squared minus 2x all over x plus 2 times x minus 1. Then simplifying further, you have negative x squared, then this one negative 2x minus x, that is negative x, then minus 1 all over, and that is x plus 2, then x minus 1. You can also factor out the negative, so you now have x squared plus x plus 1 all over x plus 2 times x minus 1. Actually the trinomial, the numerator x squared plus x plus 1 cannot be factored out by using trial and error, and if you are using your calculator or using the quadratic equation, it will result to an imaginary number. So let's just stay in this way or in this form. Okay, so that is the answer for subtraction. Now let's jump with multiplication. So let's just erase this one first. So let's jump with multiplication. So we have here again f dot, so it's not circle, it's dot. That is equal to the product of these rational expressions, 1 over x plus 2 and then x all over x minus 1. Now in simplifying rational expressions, or in multiplying, just simply multiply the numerator and then also the denominator. So we have x times x plus 2, then x minus 1. So simple as that. This is now our final answer because we don't have any common factors on the numerator and the denominator. The next one is division. So let's proceed with division. So we have f slash g of x, so that is the notation, and then write the numerator. So the first one is f of x, and the denominator is x all over x minus 1, and then you can proceed to multiplication by writing the multiplicand, I mean the dividend, and then this divisor, since this is in division. So in order to proceed to multiplication, you need to find the reciprocal of the divisor. So the reciprocal is x minus 1 over x, and then apply now the procedure in multiplying rational expressions. So multiply numerator x minus 1, and then the same with the denominator x plus 2. So this is now our final answer. You can also give some restrictions such that x must not be equal to 0. So remember our domain discussion, and then here also x should not be equal to -2. So this is, or these two right here, 0 and -2, are called the undefined values, or we can call it as poles in our control system. Okay, and then the next, or shall we say the last operation of function is we call this composition. So f of g of x, that is equal to in order for you to get the exact answer, so be sure to write in this way, that since f may nag-una, so write f, and then inside the parenthesis of f you write g of x. So it means that the value, or g of x, the entire g of x, should be substituted to the variable x in our function f. So write your function f. So since our function f is 1 all over x plus 2, and then you can also write here the g of x. So g of x is equal to x all over x minus 1. So since we have the entire g of x, so substitute this entire expression in our x here in our f, since it means since it says that, or it stated that f contains the entire g of x. So let's do that. So we have 1 all over the x is the entire g of x, so substitute x all over x minus 1 and then plus 2. So this is a complex rational expression. So we solve for the LCD, combining the terms in the denominator. So we have x plus 2 times x minus 1. Simplifying further, or okay, simplify muna para di tayo malito. So we have x plus, here distribute this, so we have plus 2x minus 2 all over x minus 1, and then here let's continue. So we have 1 all over, that would be x plus 2x is 3x minus 2 all over x minus 1. So proceed to multiplication. So our dividend is just 1, and then our divisor is this one, so take reciprocal. So we have x minus 1 times 3x minus 2. So therefore our final answer is x minus 1 all over 3x minus 2 for the case wherein we have a composition of f contains g of x. But if the required is g contains f of x, so it's a different thing, because it states that whatever the value of our f of x, the entire f of x should be substituted to the variable of g of x. So it means a different thing. So be sure to follow the rules and the procedures or the operations of function. So let's have another example. Example number 2. So example number 2. Let's say you are given this. So we have here f of x is equal to the square root. So this is a radical expression, square root of x minus 1. Then we have g of x is equal to the square root of 4 minus x. Okay, solve again by using all those formulas, but this time in order for you to have a review for your domain and range, so we need to solve for the domain and the range. So in order for us to recall our previous na mga discussion for function. So let's start with addition. So we have f plus g of x, so that is just equal to the square root of x minus 1 plus the square root of 4 minus x. So here we need to solve for the domain. So for the domain, since this is case number 3, wherein case number 3 is the all about radical expressions. So for radical expression, always remember that the inside expression in the square root, since this is an the index is even, so therefore we need to avoid the expression in the inside the radical sign to be greater than, so it must be greater than or equal to 0. So this is now our restriction. Applying that one in our domain, since we have two expression inside the radical sign, so we have the first one is x minus 1, the second one is 4 minus x, so therefore we need to equate the two. So here the first one is x minus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0, and then transposing x should be greater than or equal to positive 1. The other one is we have 4 minus x, again still greater than or equal to 0, and then transposing 4 on the other side, so we have negative x greater than or equal to negative 4, multiply both sides by negative 1, x again, since nag-multiply man tag negative 1 or negative number, the direction of our inequality sign will be changed, so it will now be less than or equal to positive 4. So we have two restrictions for our domain, so therefore we can say that our domain is greater than 1 and less than 4. So it is between, so that is between 1 and 4. So here in our number line, so it means that greater than 1, so this is 0, this is 1, this is 4, so greater than 1 patungo sa positive infinity. Sa isa din is less than 4, so patungo dun. Now the probable domain is from 1, so since this is non-strict na inequality, so non-strict man ito na equal, so included silang dalawa, yung 1 tsaka si 4, so 1 to 4. But actually if you want to verify this, or if you use those test intervals, you can also do that. Let's say let's verify whether our answer is correct, which is from 1 to 4 including 1 and 4. So if we substitute less than 1 na mga numbers sa kani sa second nga radical sign, let's say we have here negative 2, so it is acceptable or not. So here for negative 2, it is acceptable for the second radical expression, but how about for the first? The first is not acceptable, so therefore the entire thing should not agree with this. The same thing with 4 to infinity. Let's say we have here 10. Now if we're going to substitute 10 on the first radical expression, 10 minus 1 is 9, so a positive number, it's okay, since our goal here is to produce a real number for our left side of the equation. And if we're going to substitute 10 on the second, so that would be 4 minus 10 is a negative number, so therefore we cannot do here. So our prospect, which is between 1 and 4, is correct. So therefore the answer is the interval from 1, so we can use brace since 1 is included, and then to 4 you can also use brace, but you can use the intersection notation, because this one can be written as 1 to positive infinity, then the second one is from negative infinity to positive 4. So you can say that the answer or the domain is negative infinity to 4, then intersection of 1 until positive infinity. You can also do this way or this way. Anyways, pareho naman gyapon na sila pagsabot. How about the range? Since we are going to, we need to find for the range. So our range right here, since this is case number 3, so basically we are going to base our answer by using the interval from the domain. So we use the interval, from domain. Since we only have one interval, which is from 1 to 4, So we only have one test value, right? So one test value. So here substitute or let any number from 1 to 4. So let's say I have here x is equals to 2, then plug in that one in our equation, which is y is equal to the square root of x minus 1 plus square root of 4 minus x. So here 2 minus 1 is 1, so therefore the answer is a positive number, positive. And then here this one right here is still positive, so that is positive. And then since positive is not well defined, because in order to have a range, to have a significant range, we need to know where did it start. So siguro nag-start ba ni siya sa 0, nag-start ba ni siya sa 1. So let's say, how about since we started at 1, let's say if we have x is equals to 1, what would happen? So here we have y is equals to 1 minus 1, this will become 0, plus here square root of 4 minus 1 is 4. So what is square root of 4? That is actually positive or negative 2, but let's just consider this one as the principal root. So principal root lang tayo. Or if you want to know the absolute, so let's say absolute na lang tayo. Absolute. So for absolute, of course, we start negative 2. Kasi diba, the square root of 4 here is positive or negative 2. But if the book required you to determine the principal root, of course you just considered positive 2. So positive 2 lang. Since here I told you that let's consider the absolute root, meaning we take the two possible answers, positive and negative. So therefore nag-start sa negative 2. Can we still have values lesser than negative 2? Actually, as we grow higher, let's say at point 2, magiging positive na yung result, point 3 to point 4, so on and so forth. So therefore 1 would be our starting test in order to know the lowest value of our y, which is our starting point. So this is our starting point of the interval for our range. So therefore our range pala, so we have here range starts at negative 2. So since negative 2 is included, start negative 2, and since when we test here, since we test that y between 1 and 4 is positive, but actually we cannot say that our range is from negative 2 to positive infinity. Why? Because our domain is not on the positive. I mean, wala siya kanang dili siya ma-approach og positive infinity. Nam siya boundary. What is its boundary? Only up to 4. So therefore we also need to consider 4 here sa atong test. So let's say if our x is equals to 4, what would happen? So we have y is equals to, this is 4 minus 1, and then plus square root of 4 minus 4, so this would be 0. What is 4 minus 1? That is square root of 3. So here you can also have negative square root of 3, diba? So negative square root of 3, that would be negative 1.73. so you have here negative 1.73, and then you also have positive 1.73. This is just an approximation, but since negative 1.73 is still greater than negative 2, so therefore mao ni class ang atong starting, kay mamo ni pinakagamay, kay since mamo po na pinakagamay sa domain. So therefore our range pala is until this, so until ano lang pala siya, until positive 1.73. That is just an approximate value. So therefore our range here starts from -2. Do you think it would be higher? How about 3 class? Even if we have 3, so we have square root of 3 minus 1 square root of 2, then plus square root of 4 minus 1 is 1, so we have 2.41. So actually nagkadako siya if we have 3. Okay, diba? Square root of 3 minus 1 is square root of 3 minus 1 is kanang kuha na siya 2. 3 minus 1 is 2, so square root of 2, then 4 minus 3 is 1, so square root of 2 plus square root of 1, so we have 2.41, right? 2.41. And for our square root of 3, our square root of 3, that is 1.73. so therefore our maximum value is at 3, I guess. Or how about if we have square root of 3, let's say this is 3 minus 1 or 3.5. Let's say we have square root of 3.5 minus 1. So ako lang nag-calculate class kay trial and error magana siya. Then we have 4 minus 3.5. The answer is 2.28. How about 3.9? For 3.9, the answer is 2.09. So I think how about if we have 2.9? So 2.9, so we have 2.42. How about if we have 2? How about kung naatay 2 class? The answer is 2.41. So actually we have atong range ani, since maximum na value, I think we cannot go to positive infinity. We have here a number that has a maximum value, so it's between x equals to 1 and x equals to 4. Actually we cannot determine the exact value, or I mean we can determine this, but ma-apply naman good class, ma-apply na ang gitawag nga kanang calculus nga operation ari kay ano, we are going to determine what is the maximum value here for y. So let's say if nano may alamag sa calculus, let's say if you have y is equal to square root of x minus 1 plus square root of 4 minus x. So if we are going to take the maximum, let's say the slope for this function is 0. So man siya pag determine. So let's say we have dy over dx is equal to, this is 1/2, then x minus 1 raised to negative 1/2, then plus this is 1/2, then this is 4 minus x, so that is 4 minus x raised to negative 1/2. So equate that one to 0. So when we equate this to 0, this will be cancelled out, so we only have 1 over, that is square root of x minus 1. So by definition of our negative exponents, the 4 minus x, and then if we're going to multiply both sides by their denominators, so multiply ito tag sa silang denominator, actually we can have again 0 is equals to square root of 4 minus x, and then plus square root of x minus 1. So here we can transpose one of the logical expression on the other side. So actually this will now be negative, and then take square root both sides. So we actually have 4 minus x is equal to x minus 1. So if we are going to ato ni siya icon class ato ni i-transpose, so transpose lang ni siya, and then kanipod, so we have yung negative 2x, diba? Kasi negative x and then this positive will become negative, so we have negative 2x. Then this one, negative 1 minus 4, negative 1, that is negative 5. Divide both sides by 2, so we have negative 2 pala, so we now have x is equal to negative 5 over negative 2, or that is 5 halves. And I think 5 halves is approximately, exactly 2.5. Yes, that is 2.5. So when x is equal to 2.5, we can achieve the maximum value of our y. So for x is equal to 2.5. Let's substitute, class, kay ato makitaan ko maximum ba na. So here in our test values, let's say how about if x equals to 2.5 based on what we get here sa ato ang pag-derive sa minima, pag-derive sa maximum. Actually in calculus kani siya nga topic is minima and maxima, so makaabot tayo mga anak, class, don't worry. Let's just verify kung asa yun ang pinaka highest value sa atong y. So we have here square root of 2.5 minus 1 and then plus square root of 4 minus 2.5. The answer is square root of 6, or that is approximately 2.45, or to be exact, so ato lang suot nga y is equal to the square root of 6. But actually if we are going to take the absolute root, so we can also produce negative square root of 6, diba? So this would be 2.45 approximately, and the other one is negative 2.45, which is our first assumption nga atong pinaka lowest, that is negative 2, where actually the fact is negative, meron pa palang mas maliit, which is negative 2.45. So we can say that the range, so medyo na pa-advance tayo, and I think meron atang way para pagkuha nito, but actually very long yung pagkuha ng maximum tsaka minimum values. But for this time we have a negative square root of 6, so this is for the negative side of our root of 6, and then the positive one 6. Actually this is the range of our result. So medyo mahaba-haba siya, class, haba-haba. How about if we do subtraction? Actually if we subtract them, so madali lang. Actually madali lang kasi i-subtract mo lang sila eh. Let's say if you have f minus g of x, that is just equal to the square root of x minus 1 minus square root of 4 minus x. So the same thing, kung ano yung range mo, kung ano yung domain mo dito, hindi yung domain, kung ano yung domain na nakuha natin sa last, yun din ata. Yun din, same pa din. But for the range siguro magkaiba kasi meron ng minus sign dito. Meron ng minus sign dito. So again, class, para hindi tayo malilito, actually if we're just dealing with principal root lang, kung principal root lang talaga tayo, siguro ma-change yung sagot natin sa range. But actually kung i-graph kasi natin itong mga square root sign, kasi to sila parang meron silang symmetrical na symmetrical yung form nila. So kailangan talaga natin i-consider yung negative of the root and also the positive of the root. So this should now be our answer. So you just practice na lang sa inyo class nga kamoy mag-solve sa range code. But anyways, same lang range sa atong previous katong sa addition. So let's proceed to multiplication. So we have here f dot g of x is just equal to the square root of x minus 1 multiplied by the square root of 4 minus x. So here multiplying up to two radical expressions, you just remember the property. So if they have the same index, So you can just multiply the inside of the radical sign. So you have x minus 1, and then here 4x minus x. You can simplify this, so you can distribute, but for me, the same thing, the domain same pa rin kasi yung restriction is nasa loob. So again, isa-isahin mo sila na dapat greater than or equal to 0 lang talaga. So I think yung domain na nakuha natin sa addition is still the same with the domain here for multiplication. And for the range, yung range niya, so ganun pa rin, i-test mo lang yung interval na kuha mo sa domain, i-test mo, ibalik mo pag plug in sa ating function, and then try to look at the minimum and the maximum value of our y. So that would be the interval of our range. So here, let's proceed to division. So let's say if you have f slash g of x, so we have here square root. The first one is x minus 1. The second one is square root of 4 minus x. Actually, we have restriction here because this is a rational expression. Even if naa siya radical expression or radical symbol, still rational expression in Japanese siya class. Now, if we're going to rationalize this, so let's say if the instruction is requiring you to rationalize, so let's rationalize in order to simplify. So we have here square root of 4 minus x. Para makancel na ang 4 minus x sa ibaba. So we now have square root of x minus 1, then square root, and this is 4 minus x. So sorry, ato sa ni-erase. So we have here 4 minus x, and then here, since we multiplied in same term, this should be equal to 4 minus x squared. Since the exponent is the same with our index, so makancel na siya. What's left is just the square root of x minus 1, 4x minus 1, and then the denominator is 4 minus x. So here, you can base your domain and range in this form because this is still the same with our first one, since we just rationalize, or we can also base our answer here. So pwede hapon siya. Pwede hapon. Let's say if we want to base this one sa atong kuan, kay since man siya original, based sa domain and range ani. Of course, for domain maglikay na pud ta. Since duha man ni we have rational and radical, so duha jud ato kanani restriction. So mag-restrict sa tauna sa rational nga part, since di ba di man ta pwedeng ang atong denominator which is 4 minus x, di gina ta pwedeng mag 0 na sila, singanan na siya. So therefore, if we're going to take square both sides, that would be 4 minus x must not be equal to 0. Then you can also transpose 4 on the other side, so we have negative x must not be equal to negative 4. Multiply both sides by negative 1, you have x must not be equal to 4. So di pwede ang 4 kay mas 0. So di pwede ang denominator nga mas 0. So therefore, that is our first nga restriction sa atong domain. How about the other one? Since naman tayo duha ka radical, sa ang unang radical kay we have x minus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0. So ganiharaman ni, so your x should be greater than or equal to 1. Second one is 4 minus x should be greater than or equal to 0. So transpose 4, we have negative x greater than or equal to negative 4. Multiply both sides, so we have x. Since ang multiply man tag negative number, ma-change ang direction sa atong inequality, so maless na siya to positive 4. So again, since ingon man diri nga wala day labot si 4, therefore makaingon na tani nga that is x is just less than 4. Okay, akong gi-connect sila diri ha. Kay ingon ba diri nga di man pwede labot si 4 kay by the restriction of our rational expression, di labot si 4. So that's why ako lang gi-change into strict inequality. Wala lang ako gi-equal kay may labot si 4. Therefore, if we're going to plot this one is this is 0, we have 1, then we have 4. So 1 is included, so makabutang tayo nga this is brace patungo positive infinity, so padungad to. Ang 4, since dili siya included, parenthesis patong negative infinity. So again mo gani kaning nagsugat sila, mo gani ang ato ang domain. So domain here is starts at 1 until 4, but 4 now is parenthesis since dili man included si 4 due to our rational expression. Now in order to solve for the range, so in order to solve for the range class, y is equals to the square root of x minus 1, and then we have here square root of 4 minus x. So diba square root of 4 minus x. Actually pwede man nato ma-combine or and malet nato na siya. So yes, I think ma-solve man nato ni siya in terms of x alone. Okay, we can rewrite this as square root of x minus 1. Diba remember our rules in radicand? And then here, since naingani naman siya class, we can square root both sides, diba? Square root both sides. So mahimo na siyang y is equals to x minus 1 all over 4 minus x. Then solve for x. So we have here x minus 1 is equals to 4y minus xy. Transpose the x on the other side. So you now have x minus 1 plus xy is equal to 4y. Then ang negative 1 pa rin ibalhin nga to. So we now have x times 1 plus y is equals to 4y plus 1 divided by 1 plus y. Diba? Divide by 1 plus y para makancel. Muna na itong x is equals to 4y. Actually, may y squared tayo dito. So this is y squared pala. So that is 4y squared pala ito, and then this is xy squared. So therefore this is 1 plus y squared. Tama? Okay, so tama. Then 4y all over 4y squared plus 1 all over 1 plus y squared. Okay, so we can have in the numerator, so the numerator, what makes y equal 0? So I mean naabay ko anang mag ato restriction diyan is a y. So ang first restriction is y should not be so saman, since nagtan-aw man to sa denominator. So let's say here 1 plus y squared should not be equal to 0. So therefore if we can transpose y here, we have y squared should not be equal to negative 1 square root. So y should not be equal to the imaginary number. Of course, sa ato ang goal ani, kung mag-find tag dominant range, hindi magid pwede mag-imaginary. So sabot-abon ni siya. Now sa ato din pag-canary class, pagbantay na tari, actually only if y imaginary, and since ato ang real numbers, what may possibility nga mag-imaginary siya. So therefore we can plug in values of our y from negative infinity to positive infinity, di ba? Pwede siya kay mga real numbers naman itong plug in good ari, mga real numbers naman. Let's say given nga di ta pwede mga imaginary numbers, we are only limited to real numbers. So pwede si y any number here, same thing with this. So therefore our range pala here is we can have negative infinity to positive infinity. So that would be our range. Yes, I think we're correct. Yes, correct. Oo, correct. Kay if magplug in tag 1, so let's verify lang if we can have negative infinity to positive infinity. Kay since ato domain man good is limited ra sa negative 1 to 4, because we cannot do negative 2 here, kay if ato i-plug in diri sa ang negative 2 mo negative man di man pwede. So actually we cannot justify yet kung sakto ba gining negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, and the best way to know the range is we're going to base it by our interval of the domain. So since ang domain interval kay kuan man, domain interval is from 1 to 4 raman jud, wala pa ilabot gali si 4. So let's try let's try to solve for the maximum value and the minimum value of y here, given nga mo na siya atong domain. So here naman tayo y nun, so naman tayo y, formula y is equal to the square root of x minus 1. So here na tayo gitawag nga x minus 1 all over square root of 4 minus x. Actually kung ato ni isolve via calculus class makakagin nato ang maximum minimum, but this time pwede gud ta manuman ni ani, pero it will take kanang a lot of time. So again class, makasugat ra man akong gibuhat. Let's say the derivative of y, so this is of the form udv plus vdu, or vdu minus udv. So vdu is just square root of 4 minus x, then minus udv, so that is u is square root of x minus 1 and dv is negative x, so that will be plus square root of x minus 1 all over v squared, that is 4 minus x. Then since this is dy over dx, which will be equal to 0, so therefore mas 0 na po din siya, because multiply man ta, mahimo na siyang square root of 4 minus x plus square root of x minus 1 is equal to 0. I think familiar ninyo. Kung ato transpose on the other side, we have 4 minus x is equals to negative square root of x minus 1. Taking square for both sides, we have 4 minus x equals to x minus 1. So na x minus 1 na lang. Nga naman sir, kay kaning negative, mapasti buniki, distribute ba ang exponent on each entity. So here, transpose, so we have negative 2x is equals to negative 5. So again, negative 5 babs gihapon ta. So same ra gihapon sa previous class. I mean, this is not negative 5, but this is positive 5 babs. So this is positive 5 halves. So therefore, ang y na to either maximum or minimum kung 5 halves ang x. So I think we already know that one. I mean since natin x equals to negative 5 halves, so try plug in. So we have y is equals to sama to square root of x minus 1. So here we have square root of 2.5 minus 1 all over the square root of 4 minus 2.5. So the answer is 1. So more din ato max atong kanang atong maximum. Unsa man ato ang minimum na we can also have the negative, and I think since kani siya kay square root naman siya, this is square root of we have here 2.5 minus 1 all over 4 minus 2.5, so that is 1 or negative 1. So ang pinaka lowest din niya, since ang answer man is plus or minus 1, so therefore ang lowest value sa ato ang range is negative 1 padung sa positive 1. So therefore our range is from negative 1 to positive 1. Again ha, asa man gikan ning negative 1 to positive 1 sir? So ato ni is gi-substitute ang 5 halves, since mo na ito nakuha diri in order to solve for the maximum and minimum values of our y, our function. So therefore ato ni substitute sa to equation diri kan siya. Gi-substitute na ako, and since duha man tay possible answers kay square root man siya. So we have plus and minus 1. So therefore our range pala is from negative 1 alone. So sir, nganong di man ta pwede mo makakuha og range nga negative 1 below sir? Of course, kay we only limited to the kanang kuan kung unsa ray available sa atong domain, since ang atong domain is from 1 to 4 man, di naman siya pwede nga nga malahi siya kay ma-define naman ma-define ang function, so therefore limited na po natong range, which is from negative 1 to positive 1. Okay, proceed na ta sa division. So let's proceed with division. So nga ito, challenge yun yung magkandag domain ng range, kay diba as you notice sa akong first trial kay nag-negative infinity to positive infinity when we change the, or when we transpose the function into a function of x. So di gid applicable kay nga ato maguding pamaagi class, assume ta nga ang domain sa atong x is all real numbers, which is incorrect. So let's jump with division. We have here f/g. I think we are ready to with division. So tron humana this division day katong previous. Okay, so kuan dita composition. So sa composition, so we have here, let's say we have f contains okay, it is ta sayop. Okay, this is f contains a circle, yun na siya, more siyang fog basahon. This is just the same as f of say g of x, mo na siya ang i-substitute sa variable x sa function niya f. So here we have square root of x. So since this is the entire g of x, so we need to input this one to our variable x and our function f. So this is square root of 4 minus x minus 1. Ano lang class, or in fraction form, actually this is look, or this is written in this way. Yan na lang siya. Actually same ra gyud ang restriction, marag ang restriction kay same ra, because the first thing is that kani siya din pwede magkuan. So saliha for the domain, so just a review. First restriction is that 4 minus x should be greater than or equal to 0. The second restriction is that the square root of 4 minus x minus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0. So we already know this because here dapat kani siya x should be less than or equal to 4. How about this? Sama ni siya, sama na ito pag-solve. So we can just transpose of 4 minus x is greater than equal to negative 1, then square both sides, diba? So we have 4 minus x, and then greater than or equal to, this would be 1 na lang. We can transpose 4, so we have negative x greater than or equal to 1 minus 4, so that would be negative x greater than or equal to negative 3. Multiply both sides by negative 1, we have x, and since we multiply negative numbers, so ang kani siyang greater than less than na ma-change ang sign, so we now have 3. So therefore our restriction, the first one is 4 must be less than or equal to x must be less than or equal to 4 nya. Usap po diri kay kanang kuan, x should be greater than or equal to 3. But actually if we just take the principal root of square root of 4 minus x, now kung mag-negative ta nga part, actually napay usa na ini kay since this is square root, so we can also say that the negative of 4 minus x minus 1 still equal, or should be greater than or equal to 0 gid. And then here same ra gyapon imong kanon, ano siya, greater than or equal to 1, and we can also multiply both sides by negative, so we have here square root of 4 minus x, since nang multiply man ta ma-change ni na negative 1. So take square root of both sides, so I think same ra gihapon mo 1, and then go back ra gihapon data classes less than or equal to 3. So let's verify daw less than or equal to 3. What if ko mag 3? So 4 minus 3, 4 minus 3 is 1, so square root of 1 is 1, then negative ay di na siya pwede kay kanda Since di man ta pwede di og negative number, pwede ba? O di ta pwede nga here we only take the positive class nga naman di ta pwede mga negative ani. So we just take the principal root y. If we take the negative root for this, of course if we take the negative then minus 1 negative, so di na siya pwede kay should be greater than or equal to 0. So therefore nga to i-take ani kay only positive. So agree taning x less than or equal to 3. So x less than or equal to 3 niya, since ang first kay less than or equal to 4 mampod. So diba less than 4 man less than 3. So if we're going to plot das ato i-plot sa real number line, so here mo ni ang 4 mo ni ang 3. So ang usa kay ingon nga less than 4, ang usa kay maingon nga apil niya siya, no? Ang usa ingon nga less than 3. So asa may pwede na, since ay ikaduha kay di siya modawat og modawat gyapon siya 4 kay di siya pwede. Okay, di siya pwede modawat og 4 ano. If we plug in 4 here, di ba this will become 0 and we have negative 1. Since gisod man siya square root, so therefore we cannot do that kay it will make the function imaginary. So therefore mag-unag siya sa 3. So kani ang atong sundon. Kaya ang intersection man, remember intersection siya sa domain, sa ato ang una nga restriction o sa domain sa ikaduha nga restriction. So therefore ang ato ang domain is from negative infinity until 3. So 3 ragid at mas 3 ragid. Di na pwede higher numbers kay if higher numbers di na pwede masod ng kwan negative 4. So only mag-start just sa 3. How about for kuan? How about for y? How about for the range? Actually for the range we can do the derivative na pud. So let's say y is equals to 4 minus x raised to 1/2 then minus 1. Actually this is katong power rule. So I hope naka-remember mo to 1/2 then the entire thing 4 minus x 1/2 minus 1 raised to negative 1/2. So this is derivative with respect to x. Calculus na gini siya. And then of course the derivative of the inside. So again naghihap mo ta diri 1/2. And then here we have kanang 4 minus x raised to negative 1/2 gihapon, then derivative na pud sa sud which is negative x. Actually since we can equate this 0, so pwede na class kani makancel niyo since this is common. I mean kani this entire thing right here pwede na. Pwede na siya. So we only have 1/2 or 1/square root of 4 minus x, and then that is minus, this is negative di negative x kay usar na sila. And then here di ba guys, since this is 0 mo dyan, no? 0 na siya. 0 equals to this is negative x all over 2 square root of 4 minus x. So because multiplied, this would be negative x equals to 0 or x is equal to 0. So kung si x mag 0, maximum mga itong y. So if we're going to substitute x equals to 0 to our original equation, so dire ato na siya substitute. So we have y equals square root of the square root of 4 minus 1. So again class, dili ta pwede maka take og duha ka kwan are ha. We only take the principal root kay mag-imaginary man. So the square root of square root of 4 is 2. So it is 2 minus 1. So we have 2 minus 1 is 1. So square root of 1, it could be positive or negative. 1. So therefore, the maximum here is positive 1, the minimum is negative 1. So therefore, ang range lang sa atong y, ang range is negative 1 to 1. So I think this is the same with division. The same lang siya sa division. Okay, review na to daw ang atong derivative. So I think correct atong pag-derive. So correct man. Derivative of the inside is 1/2 4 minus 1/2 the negative x. So yeah, correct. So correct ta. So mag-maximum ang y if our x is equal to 0. So that will be our domain and our range. So I think that would be all for the module 5 lesson 1. So muna siyang last part ng operation sa